according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not think that I come to abolish the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth passes away, not the smallest letter or the smallest part of the letter shall pass from the Torah until all is accomplished. Whoever then annals one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever keeps the teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say to you that unless your righteousness suppresses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. You have heard that the ancients were told, 'You shall not commit murder,' and whoever commits murder shall be liable to the court. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother and sister shall be guilty before the court. And whoever says to another, 'You good for nothing,' shall be guilty before the Supreme Court. And whoever says, 'You fool,' shall be guilty enough to go into the fires of Gehenna. Therefore, if you are presenting your offerings at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your offering there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and present your offering. Make friends quickly with your opponent at law while you are with him on the way, so that your opponent may not hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Truly I say to you, you will not come out of there until you have paid the very last penny. You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery in her or his heart. If your right eye makes you stumble, tear it out and throw it from you. For it is better for you to lose one of your body parts than for your whole body to be thrown to Gehenna. Likewise, if your right hand makes you stumble, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better for you to lose one of your parts of the body than for your whole body to be into Gehenna. It was said, 'Whoever sends his wife away, let him give her a certificate of divorce.' But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except for the reason of infidelity, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again, you have heard that the ancients were told, 'You shall not make false vow, but shall fulfill your vows to the Lord.' But I say to you, make no oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is the footstool of his feet, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Nor shall you make an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything beyond this is of the evil one." My brothers and sisters, the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Hallelujah. start with the good vibes. Can you tell the one sitting beside you, good morning, you look beautiful this morning? Just this morning, because it's Valentine's weekend. Speaking of Valentine's weekend, I see that we have less people than the concert of Bobby Joe Valentine last Friday. So Susan said, Father, you better start singing. And more people. I don't know about that. So today, the complicated gospel that we read is summarized in the Mosaic Law. You remember the Law of Moses? The first 5 books of the Bible that we have in the Old Testament. You still remember those, right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. Okay? But in the Jewish tradition, the Mosaic Law not only refers to the first 5 books, or the Septuagint, which is the 70 interpretation, or the 680, 90 pages of the interpretation of that, but it refers to the entire scripture, the law which is given to us, handed down from God to Moses, then Moses, Jesus Christ to us. And so the Mosaic Law that we heard today is followed, it's in the context of the Sermon of the Mount of Jesus Christ. The Sermon of the Mount, when he explained to us the precepts of the law. And so today, I'll summarize those Mosaic Law into the 4 announcements that Jesus Christ made. The first announcement was, thou shalt not kill. So Jesus Christ looks into the spirit of the law as he fulfills the law, and thou shalt not kill is not only limited to the act of murdering somebody, but it's also specified in the Gospel of St. Matthew. First it says, when you have an unhealthy anger, then you're killing somebody. Because when you have an unhealthy anger towards somebody, what is your attitude? It's like something boiling in you, like you have the desire of vengeance, and one of these days I'll get even with this fellow. No? So you're there, and then you're cooking up all devices to put down the other person. No? Anger. Or like you start spreading false witnesses to that person, towards that person, and you think that the only way to get even is you put the other one down. Okay? So that's unhealthy anger. But also it says that it's not only limited to killing somebody, it's also encompassed when you do not opt for life, then you are opting for death. When you do not do something to improve the quality of life of the people around you, then you're also killing them. Or worse, in the situation in the U.S., when you take advantage of immigrants and you enrich yourself using the immigrants, especially if they don't have privileges and rights, and you employ them and you pay them minimum and you don't give them benefits and you make yourself richer. 2018, the IRS report says that there is $26 billion reported in the IRS using TIN. ITIN, you know what's ITIN? Individual tax ID number. Only those undocumented uses that, and they filed an IRS ground revenue of $26 billion, 2018. And we enrich ourselves to that, so we're not opting for life, we're opting for killing. So that's also part of the expansion of thou shalt not kill. And they say also that when you use your tongue, you see this soft tongue, when you start libeling, when you start criticizing others behind their back, your tongue can be as strong as you can make somebody crumble from wherever that person is standing. You how do you call it? Backbite?
Backstab.
Backbite? No. Backstab. Now, you backstab. Forgive my ESL English. Okay? When you backstab somebody, that's also killing. And they say that, envy is also related to killing. Why? Because you don't face somebody head on. When you envy somebody, you talk back behind that person. And you try to invent stuff to stop the process of growth of the person that is the object of your envy. But the problem with envy is it works the other way. The more envy you have to another person, the only thing you're doing is you're doing that person a favor. You know why? All the negative things that person have, you're absorbing it to yourself. And so, do yourself a favor in your life as a Christian, Catholic, baptized. Never envy somebody. When you see somebody prospering, you come closer to them. No? Probably you may rub off some of the luck that they have. And the blessing among you, among both of you, will be multiplied. Okay? So never envy somebody. The other law in the Mosaic law of Moses is the adultery. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery is not only limited to committing an act of infidelity, but also at the same time, there's a Jewish saying, the eyes and the hands are brokers of sin. He said, when you look at somebody and you use your eye to awaken unnecessary desires, then you are already committing adultery. There's another saying in the Jewish tradition that says, the eyes and the hearts are handmaids of sin. So when we look at somebody, we look at them lavishly, and we look at them and we try to play with our imagination. They say that nothing that comes in will make us impure, but the secret desires of our hearts that will lead us to sinful imagination, then we are already committing adultery in ourselves. So when we try to see others, they say a pure of heart is somebody who looks at somebody else, a man or a woman, and does not awaken these unnecessary desires that we have. You remember we, the religious, when we were at the Immaculate Heart of Mary, the congregation of the Immaculate Heart of Mary with Father George and Father Ben, they say we have this vow of, what's the three vows of the religious people? Poverty, chastity, and obedience, no? So I was a promoter of vocation, and we were recruiting young candidates to the priesthood. So during the feast, we bring them and present to them a table full of food, drinks, and whatever they can consume, they can do it. So one of the candidates says that, oh my gosh, if this is poverty, I wonder what chastity is all about. There's a lot of food there. And then one of the priests answered, chastity is when you think that 36, 24, 36 is a telephone number, that's chastity. You have a pure mind, no? You're not corrupted yet. And the other law is the law on divorce. The law on divorce that Jesus Christ defended from the beginning of time. He did not only refer to the law of Moses that permitted divorce, because divorce in the olden days, you know that, Psalm 127, that is the criteria of the Pharisees in putting divorce. Divorce is when you divorce somebody, let's say John Doe will divorce Jane Doe, but it doesn't happen like that. You have to give her a bill of divorce. It is just a small paper saying, I, John Doe, gives you divorce today, Jane Doe, and I sign it and give it to her. And what are the criteria of divorce? Psalm 127 says, with the fertility of your womb, you are able to give man a lot of children that will glorify his name. And so the first reason for divorce is, the Pharisee said, so if a woman cannot give children to the man, he can write her a divorce paper, the bill of divorce. And it doesn't even consider if the problem is the man, it's always the woman. Okay? So they don't even inspect that. Is the man barren? Or they always put the blame on the woman. And then the other thing is, they say, if you find a woman, because in the psalm it says, with the ability of her hand, she can be able to weave clothing that will dress the man and will give glory to man. You notice that the woman only serves to give glory to the man. So the Pharisee said, if you found a woman who doesn't know anything about household chores, write her that piece of paper and give it to her. Another thing, they say, these Pharisees, no? And then another thing the Pharisee said, as Psalm 127 says also, that if you find a woman that likes to fight, it doesn't mean she really likes to fight. It's enough for her voice to be heard by the neighbors. She's a scandalous woman. So you have to write her that bill of divorce and give it to her, okay? And send her off her own way. And worse comes to worse is, they say, the Pharisees said, if you find a woman that is more beautiful and younger than your wife, sign her that piece of paper and give it to her. Okay? That's why you see some of the women in the Holy Land. Only the eyes you can see and the rest are covered, right? So it's a good thing that in the U.S. these things doesn't exist, right? Because this is a free country and the women have the rights, right? So here in the U.S., when the man marries a woman, it's almost as if putting them in his stand and lighting a candle for them so that they can be adored and worshipped, right? The women are adored and worshipped in the U.S., right? And in the U.S. also, when a man marries a woman, you remember the check at the end of the month? The man gives it completely to the woman so that she can manage it, right? And then here in the U.S., because the right of the women are strong, when a man marries a woman, the man becomes faithful to the woman for the rest of his life, right? The women have been nodding. No. Anyway, that was a problem of divorce in the olden days, but Jesus Christ, you remember his stand in the divorce, okay? He did not only refer to the law of Moses, he referred to the law of creation from the beginning of time. We were created equal partners, right? So our fulfillment is when we find that partner that suits us and that will fulfill us and that will make our life more meaningful. And so Jesus Christ decided on the equality of both men and women. And so in the end, there was also a saying that goes, when you promise something and you respond to God's invitation, you either say yes or no. You cannot make an oath. You cannot make an oath by Jerusalem, because that is the seat of God's kingdom. You cannot even make an oath by the hair of your head. Why? Because you cannot make your hair black or white, right? They say, the experts say, you know the black-haired woman? If you count the strands of the hair of the black-haired woman, you will sum up 750,000 hair. And then the blonde women, the real blonde, When you count the strands of the hair, you will sum up 550,000 strands of hair. And the red hair, you know the red hair, the real red hair, they have thinner hair. If you count all the hair in their head, you will sum up to 450,000 strands of hair. If you don't believe me, count it. But they say that when we make an oath, we cannot be lukewarm. We have to be yes or no. Because in the first reading, God has given us the freedom to choose. The freedom to choose between good and evil. And that choosing is not only choosing like before you came here, will my t-shirt be red or pink? Or will I wear my shoes or my sandals? Or will I wear pants or jeans? It's not that. They say when you choose between the will of God, it's a matter of life and death. Why life and death? Because all the precepts of God, they say, if you choose God, then you opt for life. You choose life. And to be able to get that life, you have to follow the commandments, the 10 commandments. And then you have to follow the precepts of the Lord. And when you choose God in your life, you are free, they say. You are freer. Why? Because you give yourself to God and you say no to all those that causes you to sin. Because when you choose sin, then you are denying yourself of all the precepts of God and the commandments of God, and then you are saying yes to sin, yes to sinfulness, and yes to death. So when we choose, the first reading says we either say yes or no. We choose, but the first reading, the book of Sirach is saying, please choose God. Please choose the wisdom of God, and please choose life from God. And so today we ask ourselves, are we opting our lives for God's commandments and the will of God that will bring us more life? Remember, these commandments are not burdens. They're supposed to ease in our way to follow God in our lives. But when we choose death, we choose sin, and it's not only death, it's, what was the term used there? It's an everlasting death. There's everlasting life, and there's everlasting death. So we see ourselves and we compare and we make a discernment so that God's wisdom in the second reading will dwell upon us, and we make a decision. We use our own free will that God cannot control, and we either say yes or no to God. So we cannot be lukewarm, otherwise God will spit us out. So when we ask ourselves, I choose life, and I follow the commandments. I choose sin, and I follow sinfulness and death, everlasting death. So we either say yes or no to that. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please all stand.